Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to be with you again. So let's start our study for today when we will talk about a subject, starting with the title. I put spiritual healing, serving with delight. But spiritual healing is something that can be much more large and encompass other things that we do, not only in Spiritism. So when you see a woman laying on of hands, transmitting her energy and also being a channel for spiritual energy, that's what we call in Portuguese and all the Portuguese in Spiritism's books, we call this passe. It's like giving something, not only from the person that is there, physical person, but also from the spirits that are helping in this moment. So along the study, we will use this word passe and spiritual healing sometimes. So it is easier to understand and be familiar with the word. And I am explaining so you won't be confused. That spiritual healing is the same as passe. And also magnetic healing, it can be also used this word. So uh, here, the aim of our study today is to deepen our understanding of the laying on of hands, passe, as a meaningful instrument for spiritual healing and inner balance. But what actually is this spiritual healing we are talking about? This is the transmission of spiritual, fluidic, and magnetic energies, where the healer, which is the person that is giving there in the spiritual center, normally, the energy giver channels vital fluids either from their own magnetic field or with the help of evolved spirits to restore physical, emotional, and spiritual harmony in the receiver. The energy giver, which is the passista in Portuguese, is also a channel because it's very important to understand he would never be alone when he's working in the spiritual center to help others. According to Allan Kardec, the passe is a fluidic action where the donor's energies combined with spiritual fluids are directed to the recipient. It is not mystical, it's not miraculous. It's only a vibrational therapy grounded in charity and attunement to goodness. In the book Messengers of Light from André Luiz, and also on the Medium's book, they talk a lot about this and they explain it much better. So you can understand that many times we seek in the spiritual center or in the spiritists' sessions, we seek miracles. And in the church, in the temples, the human being is always like that. We are always seeking miracles. And we forget that as sons and daughters of God, we are the real miracles. And combined with the good spirits working together with charity and knowledge about the spiritual truths, we can become amazing channels for healing in many different ways. These are two summaries of these books that are very good. I think you can find them in English in Europe. The first book is Missionaries of Light from this spirit André Luiz, and the other book is Mechanisms of Mediumship. This spirit André Luiz, he wrote, if I'm not wrong, 14 different books through the mediumship of Francisco Xavier. So he has a complete panorama, he has a complete description of the life in the spiritual realm or the astral realm, as we call, in the colonies, in the down regions where the suffering spirits are living. And he describes the help the missionaries give to them, the healing processes. And he's also very technical in some points because he was, according to what we know, he was a physician when he was incarnated on Earth in Brazil. So he likes a lot of information about medicine, about the organs of the how the human body works and etc. It's very enlightening to understand better. So in this book, Missionaries of Light, the spirit André Luiz describes in detail the dynamics of spiritual passes, explaining how the transfusion of energies between the physical and spiritual planes occurs. This chapter is fundamental reference for those who wish to understand how the pass works on the perispirit, including the principles that make self-passing or self-healing possible and effective when practiced with elevation and clear intention. So here it is already said that is a transfusion of energy between different planes. On the other book, Mechanisms of Mediumship, he in the chapter about passes, is dedicated to the technical and spiritual analysis of passes. It explains how this healing practice on the spiritual body through the radiations and thought and will. You see, not only fluids, but also the thought and also our will work on our spiritual body. It clearly presents how the spiritual fluid can be manipulated both by mediums and by the individual in a state of attunement. It provides a scientific and spiritual basis for the practice of self-healing as a natural extension of elevated thought and magnetic self-transfusion. We will talk about this now. The passes are, this is on the middle, types of healing passes. Passes are classified according to their origin and method. The healing and spiritual healing, the passes can be magnetic if they come from the healer's own energy. Because we are connected to the earth, therefore we have magnetic fluids. They also can be spiritual because the energy will come through the mediums under the guidance of spirits. And they can be a mix, which is more common because we will have on the passes both the medium energy and the spiritual energy. The variations of this practice include calming passes, cleansing passes, depending on the receiver's needs. Different kinds of passes will be much more used in more evolved works when the works are specifically for cure or healing in different kinds of situations. But the normal passe, the normal spiritual healing practice is very simple, and that's why it is described as laying on of hands. And the self-healing, which is very interesting to know, through the prayer, focus, and hand imposition on energy centers, the person can apply self-healing on herself, strengthening inner confidence and promoting self-healing. I remember when I started studying on the spiritual center in Rio de Janeiro, um, the the teacher was telling us, you can use the moment you are in the shower, for example, because then you will be a little more calm and you will be in contact with water. And then you can make a little prayer, say a little prayer in your head or out loud, doesn't matter. And then you raise your hands to get the energy from above, concentrate, focus, and believe that you are in contact with higher energies. And then you start putting this energy on yourself, imposing your hands on yourself. It will mean that you are not alone. You will get your own energy purified and also help from the high spirits that are also together with us. Let me see here. This is the self-healing practice. How does it works? The pass in general. The spiritual healing reaches our body, our mind, and spirit, acting as a complement to conventional treatments. It's very important to remember that this will never ever replace a medical treatment. This is a complement to conventional treatments because this will not act directly on the physical body immediately. This will come through the perispirit and reach our physical body depending on our state of balance. With the spiritual healing, we are more nurtured through breathing and vital fluids. We understand that solid food is only part of our nurturing system. This is on the book Evolution in Two Worlds, and also in the book Our Home, Nosso Lar, where André Luiz explained, I will show you in the next slides, how the energy and the nutrition comes from all over the world and other planes to reach the human being on Earth. Every soul needs to love and be loved to maintain inner balance. And there is a subtle psychic nourishment exchanged between loving beings that nourish and balances our whole being. These principles of the healing Passe they are very subtle. They are very sensitive, very simple yet, because they teach us when we are attuned with the good spirits, when we allow our love for our brothers and sisters in humanity to come to the surface, we can be beautiful channels for this energy and cure people in a way, because everybody needs to be loved, everybody needs to be understood, and everybody needs to be heard. In that moment when you are sitting with your eyes closed and receiving the energy from the Passe, you are not vulnerable, but you are open. And when you get this energy, all your body, your mind, your spirit will be in balance and you will be in peace. And that's why it's so important for us to understand this practice and also understand that this is something that all of us can do. At the beginning, many people used to think that passes would be something very difficult or something only for trained people, only for experts or intellectuals, maybe studying the spiritism, but it's not. It's really simple. The only demands will be here explaining ahead is that you are willing to serve with God, and then you can be a channel for this energy. I'm now just explaining to you a little bit of the technical parts that are composing all this scenario, so you can understand a little better in the end. The perispirit, it's our spiritual body. It's the subtle body connecting the spirit and the matter. It reflects thoughts, emotions, and imbalances. The goal of a healing practice is to harmonize the perispirit, which in turn promotes health in the physical body and mind. The perispirit is like a garment, it's like a piece of cloth that adapts to the spirits and reflects the soul inner condition. When Kardec defined this word perispirit, he was copying using a sample from nature, from biology. He was using a word that is used in biology to define the little membrane that protects the seed inside of a fruit, which is perisperma. So he created this word, perispirit, to try to explain that this spiritual body or astral body, many people also call astral body, is very subtle, is not material, it belongs to another dimension, but this body is more adapted to this material world than the pure spirit. If we think as a spirit as a form of light, for example, because we all are perfect, even if we are not now, we born perfect. everybody and every spirit was created perfect and innocent. And one day we will return to God in the same way. So the spirit is too pure in like a light. It needed a recipient to protect it before the spirit was able to connect with this rude material form we have as a body. So the perispirit is this garment or this protection that our spirit has. And this perispirit, also called as astral body, is also called as emotional body, because in this body we can reflect the emotions and thoughts we have. And when we die here on earth, this perispirit continues living and will be the mold that will create new bodies in the future. So our emotions impact directly this body, and that's why we have to be very careful and learn how to deal with emotions, constantly evolve. This is a representation from the theosophy about the bodies we might have. We have the physical body, which is the first on the left. Then we have the etheric body, or the double we call, which is a copy of the physical body. And then we have the astral body, or perispirit. This double acts as a link between the perispirit and our physical body. And when we die, this double disappears and return its elements, minerals, enzymes, molecules. They will go back to the soil, go back to earth, and disappear the same way as the physical body will disappear and transform in other forms of life. So from the third body, which is the astral, then we have the mental body and the others that theosophy says, but this is only for you to have a glimpse of how it's possible for a light without form, and it's like a nuclear power, which is our spirit, to be connected to a very fragile and simple physical body as we have. You know, we are so fragile that if we cut ourselves and if we fall and we break bones, we are very fragile. So this is just a temporary garment we have to live on earth. And the real spirit is a long way from this. So, like Kardec said, the perispirit is like a garment that adapts to the spirit and reflects the soul's inner condition. Here is the nurturing system that we have, described by André Luiz in Missionaries of Light. You cannot ignore that Earth's own lower forms, meaning the animals, the insects, the plants, all the fishes, everything on Earth, are nourished almost entirely by rays. You know, the photosynthesis, the plants cannot live without the sun rays and also the oxygen. Billions of cosmic rays descend upon human foreheads every minute, originating from stars and planets vastly distant from Earth. Not to mention the solar rays that brings color or heat and also light, which terrestrial science is only just beginning to understand. We still don't understand the study that will decompose the sun rays, the sunlight, and the heat and what it does on Earth. The gamma rays originating from the element radium, which disintegrates incessantly in the soil, and those of various expressions emitted by water and metals reach us, Earth inhabitants, through their feet, causing considerable influences. Here you can see in the figure energy coming from the top on our heads, from the sunlight coming towards us, and also electromagnetic energy coming from Earth. This comes from all these elements, like he says, the gamma rays that disintegrates constantly in the soil, and other rays that come from the center of our planet. They come from the water, from the metals, the minerals, and everything else. also is absorbed by the human beings. And in a horizontal direction, we access the energy or the rays, like he says, that are externalized by the plants, by other beings like animals, and other human beings. So constantly we are like bombarded, like we used to say, with rays coming from every direction, from above, from below, from the sides. Food, it's just a little part of our nourishment. And the breath is very important. That's why today the techniques for meditation, for mindfulness, the practice, all of them, yoga, all of them start with the breathing, because through this breathing, we absorb the prana and the energy that comes from the sun, from the planets, and everything else that André Luiz described. This is part of our nourishment. So if you have a very good uh, food, for example, if you have healthy food, it's very good, but it's not enough. You have to also work on your thoughts, because they will emit energy, and you have to work on your breathing. You have to remember that this is a big part. If I'm not wrong, André Luiz said on the book Our Home that 70% of the nourishment the human being gets comes from the air we breathe and the sunlight, which is very important. It's a lot. We have to research this better, but it's very interesting, because then you know to be in balance is a real challenge. You have to eat well, you have to walk outside like haute couture, which is very important, but you also have to learn how to breathe and to be in contact with all this energy that comes from other places that we don't know. In the spiritual healing practice, the hands move near the centers of energy to rebalance and transform our energy. We call these energy centers in Spiritism, but the Hinduism and Buddhism, they know the same energy centers as chakras. Sometimes it's easier, this word, because it's more known. The chakras correspond to the energetic and emotional functions, and they all are connected to our glands. You will see on the next slide. So on the top of our head, we have the crown chakra, which is the coronary chakra. And this allowed us to have the spiritual connection. On the center of our eyes, in the middle of our eyes, we have the third eye, which is connected to intuition and clarity. On the area of our throat, we have the communication and truth, depending on what we choose to say. Above our heart, we have another center, which is connected to love and compassion. Below our chest, we have the solar plexus, which is connected to emotions and will. On the left side, above the spleen, we have another energy center, which is connected to physical vitality. And the root chakra, or the sacral, which is connected to instincts and grounding, is located above our genitals. So the coronary chakra, or the crown chakra, is connected to our pineal gland. The third eye chakra is connected to our hypophysis, which is a gland that produces a lot of hormones that are vital for our health. The throat chakra is connected to our thyroid, sorry, difficult word, which also produces a lot of hormones that will be responsible for our balance. The heart chakra is connected to the thyme, which is the gland responsible for our growing. When we are a child and we start growing, we have to stop growing at some point. And then this gland is responsible for controlling this. The pancreas, you know, it's very important. It's connected to the to the chakra close to the center of our belly. It's connected to all the production and control of sugar in our bloods. And the spleen, which is also very important, is connected to the, how is it in English? Let me see. The glands, adrenal glands, connected to the, forgot the word, the hints. I don't remember now. Sometimes there is a blank. So here you can see that the chakra are counterparts of the endocrine glands and also have a physical manifestation. Because if you can see on the previous slide here, you can see some circles on the left. This is because some mediums that are able to see the physical body and the astral body and the auras, they say these chakras have a form of helices, like a helicopter turning all the time to the right. It's like a fan working non-stop. So this is the way that our divine machine, which is our body, works to get the energy from outside. But if we are full of imbalances, if we are full of bad energy, if we are disconnected to love and to the real important virtues, these hélices start to stop or to be rusty and don't work well. Therefore, we're going to start having problems on these areas. We're going to start having problems on the thyroids and producing the hormones in a bad way or not producing at all. We're going to start having problems on the pancreas, on the adrenal glands, and even on our reproductive system. That's why it's so important to be connected, knowing about the nourishment we get, knowing about the kind of thoughts and feelings we develop or we cultivate, therefore having a healthier life. This is the technical part of the passes, so you can understand a little bit how important is this exchange of energies we have with the light spirits. The ectoplasm is the substance that will work on this healing practice, the semi-material substance of a bioenergetic nature. This is the ectoplasm. It is emitted by mediums in outer states of consciousness and alpha states when you are concentrate like in meditation and connected to the higher energies in the spiritual centers, then you can produce more ectoplasm. The substance serves as a bridge between the physical and spiritual planes and is used in physical manifestations, for example, in materializations or in healing. The ectoplasm has two different components, has a physical components, vital fluids that come from the human being that is there, and the extra physical component that comes from the spirit. This ectoplasm is produced mainly by the endocrine glands. Remember, we just talked about the importance of this. There is another layer of importance, which is connected to the spiritual part, because these endocrine glands and the energy centers, the chakras, will produce the ectoplasm, especially the splenic, the gastric, which is connected to the digestion, and the throat chakras. The ectoplasm circulates primarily in the perispirit and acts as a bridge between the bodies. So it's a semi-material substance. That's why sometimes you cannot see, but when the ectoplasm is manipulated by the spirits, it can transform in a materialized form. Then you can see its presence. The disincarnate spirits use the medium's ectoplasm to perform healings, manifestation, or materialization. The spiritual assistance during the Passe is very, very important. Then the spiritual mentors prepare the environment, direct the flow, and assist the healer during the work. The healer is merely an intermediary. acting with goodwill and harmony. Therefore, it's more important than knowing a lot. More important than this is vibrating in harmony with the values of love, respect, and dedication. The spiritual mentors, they will prepare the environment where we will work in the spiritual center, for example, many hours ahead. They will clean the atmosphere. They will like a really real cleaning we do in our houses. They have to clean the spiritual environment as well, of bad thoughts, of disbalances, of bad spirits that are lost. So they have to clean in a way. And during many hours before we come to the work, they are already there. That's why it's so important to respect the time we start, the time we finish, because they work a lot. Now we come to the question, who can practice spiritual healing? Who can give passes? Many give up of service because they feel they are not good enough, they are not pure enough, or they are not spiritually ready. But no one on earth is exempt from moral challenges, and higher spirituality doesn't require perfection, but sincerity. A serene heart is the greatest healing tool. Jesus chose imperfect but good faith followers. So you know when you are able to give passes just because you want to do it. You have the sincere wish to do it. You want to help others. You want to be part of the spiritual work. You want to be a channel. You want to be a helper for the spiritual world. You don't need to be spiritually ready. You don't need to be pure. You don't need to be good enough, because this is something that we achieve along the way. We will spend our whole life trying to be better people than we were before. And this is a work in progress, never ending. If the spirits would wait for us to be perfect to start working, they would not work with us, because we will not be that. And the effectiveness of the magnetic pass will depend on the moral and vibrational quality of the healer. It works more powerfully when combined with good thoughts and feelings, and it is a channel of help, not a promise of healing. The pass is a gesture of compassion. When practiced with love, discipline, responsibility, and commitment, it becomes a prayer in motion. This is what we expect from the past. Not something that is perfect, not a set of techniques that will tell us how to do it or not to do it. It's just the goodwill, and be there for the spirits to act through you. So you will be a channel to transmit the best energy possible. But of course, you have to be also aware of your vibrations and the moral thoughts you have and why you are there trying to help others. And this will make the whole difference. The effectiveness of the past does not depend on beautiful gestures or formulas, but on the inner attunement of the healer. A silent prayer, an atonement before beginning. You just close your eyes for less than a minute and put yourself on the hands of God to be an instrument of love and to help your brothers and sisters that are there in the center. Silence, genuine intention, and loving presence. Elevated thoughts and peaceful feelings, genuine desire to help, deep respect for the recipient of the pass, an attitude of humility and recollection, not judgment. Remember that the person that is in front of you, many times going to the center, to the spirit center for the first time, or even not the first time, but many times the person there is suffering, is lost, is depressed, is sick, and therefore it deserves your respect and all your dedication in that little moment you are giving the pass. Thought is a living force. Emotions and feelings generate vibrational fields that attract or repel spiritual entities. The healer must learn to cultivate positive inner states, such as trust, gratitude, and compassion, so that their energies are aligned with goodness and their fluids can be useful in helping others. In addition, we must consider equally the material world things. We have to have clean hands, we have to have clean, gentle gestures, serene gaze. When we look to the person, we cannot look and stare. I'm not afraid of Norwegians doing that because this will never happen. Norwegians will always respect and not be staring at people. But it's important to remember that we have to respect the space of that person. You have to have a calm breathing and connection with your higher self, and no interpretation or speeches to the receiver. You are not there to give counsels or to interpret what the person is feeling, what is going on, what is happening. That's not your role in that moment. Your role in that moment is only to be a transmitter of energy. And when we say about clean hands and a good smell, for example, it's because in Brazil, for example, which is a very hot country, people forget that you have to take a shower, you have to be clean, you have to smell good because you will be very close to the people when you are giving a pass. And if you're not there, it's so uncomfortable that it doesn't have the right effect. This is something funny, but it's real. The spirit Emmanuel says here, thought is life. He who thinks creates. It's the same thing that the Greek philosopher said, and I think, therefore I am. It's the same principle because when you think, you create your own reality. And it's very important to remember the emotions and feelings that create the fields of energy around us. We learn in our studies when I started practicing this. During the day, you go to the center to practice and to give passes to people, if this is the case. We used to have light meals. We used to have try to have at least a calm day, put classical music and to be in tune, to be connected to the higher energies as much as possible. So you are a better instrument when you can or when you are allowed to do that. Then there is the prayer, which is a very important instrument as well. The power of prayer as a channel of connection. Prayer is not magic. It is a spiritual frequency tuner between the healer and the higher frequencies. It organizes your thoughts, soothes your emotions, and uplifts your energy. This attunement allows connection with spiritual guides. So when you are able to make a prayer, you are able to disconnect a little bit from the reality around you, from the problems, from the stress, from the running of the daily life, and you'll be connected. Thoughts and emotions will be connected to the higher spirits, and therefore this will uplift your energy. Every elevated prayer is a source of creative and life-giving magnetism. And every creator cultivates prayer as a proper balance of feeling, gradually transform itself into a radiating focus of divine energies. This is also on the book Missionaries of Light. And here, uh, yeah, I brought a piece, a little excerpt from the book, a small part of it that I want to read for you so you can understand how it's important to read these books and be more into the knowledge of this kind of practice if you really want to know more. Here, André Luiz is talking about the healer's attitude, saying that prayer is a powerful current of spiritual forces. He compares the healers to human batteries, radiating diverse healing rays. Prayer is a prodigious bath of strength. Such is the powerful mental current it attracts. With this resource, it is possible to expel from one's inner world the remnants of the daily struggles and absorb the renewing substances of the spiritual plane in order to function efficiently. The healers appeared to us, this is André Luiz describing the healers, viewing from the spiritual world. The healers appeared to us as two human batteries, emitting rays of multiple kinds, flowing from their hands after passing through their heads upon contact with Brother Conrado, which is a spirit, and his collaborators. Why does this energy, he asks here, why does the energy transmitted by spirit friends circulate primarily in the heads of the mediums? Even here, said Aulus, which is one of the instructors, we cannot underestimate the importance of the mind. Thought decisively influences the conveyance of healing principles. Without an idea illuminated by faith and goodwill, the medium would be unable to connect with the friendly spirits who work on these foundations. It is important to consider that in any field of work, the lack of study means stagnation. The agent who gives up learning and incorporating new knowledge fatally condemns himself to inferior activities. It is important to remember that the task of the Passe is one of pure solidarity, with a burning desire to help under the appeal of prayer. It's very beautiful and enlightens a lot our understanding about Passe. Here is another little part of a book called Trance and Mediumship from Paliano Jr. In the chapter 7, he talks about meditation. He uses meditation as a spiritual defense. Meditation is an essential resource for mediums to develop inner attentiveness and mental clarity. It allows for self-knowledge and the identification of one's own thoughts, differentiating them from spiritual influences. It is a way to educate the mind and strengthen the will. Conscious and complete breathing is an essential tool in inducing deeper states of connection. Heightened spiritual awareness is developed with intention, practice, and discipline. Proper meditation practice promotes physical and mental relaxation, mental concentration, and expansion of consciousness. You see here that this description about meditation is nothing against the spiritualistic and spiritism concepts. It invites the human beings, it invites each individual, saying that meditation is essential for us to develop our inner attentiveness and mental clarity. Because when you enter a state of meditation and you try to silence your mind, you disconnect from the outside world, you start to be connected to the energies that you cannot see. And educating the mind through practice and discipline will help us to develop our intention, our real practice, and our state of mind will be different, completely different. A moment of prayer and silence is a kind of meditation. A moment that you are in your work and you start to be nervous or stressed or desperate with problems that you have to solve. And when you stop it, go to the bathroom. When there is nobody, stay there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, close your eyes, and make a prayer. And you will see the difference when you come back to work, because you will breathe and relax, take a glass of water, and be more calm. And then the answers and understanding will come to you in a lot easier than before, when you were nervous and desperate. This is the power of meditation and prayer. From this book, in another chapter, he also talks about self-defense. And this sentence that is here below the image says, we need to know who we are inside, not just what we show to society, because we constantly wear a mask or live a character that we show to society. We have to sometimes do this to survive, because if we are very open or oversharing, people might not understand or might abuse our goodwill, and we can suffer more. But this character and this mask we use outside is not who we are. So knowing ourselves is really admitting our flaws, our problems, our mistakes, our bad sides, our shadow. And then when we face our shadows and our inner demons, as to lack of another word, we can understand better who we are. And then we can work in our improvement, we can work in our betterment, we can try to learn better or be better people, not only to the others, but to ourselves. Then we have a lighter life. We are happier. We can go through life without so many moments of depression and negativeness and anxiety, which is very common nowadays. So in this book, he talks about the basis of spiritual self-defense on three pillars: meditation, vigilance, and prayer. Vigilance is what I was talking about, which is know yourself. Prayer and meditation are the practice that will bring calm and peace to us. The daily practice of self-knowledge strengthens bonds with guardian spirits. It emphasizes the importance of constant vigilance over thoughts and behaviors, even during sleep. Prayer raises the vibratory level and reinforces attunement with higher planes. This is something very important that we practice every day, because sometimes we start learning some new things like spiritism, or learning about the origins of man, or learning about the purpose of life on earth, and suddenly we think we know a lot, but we forget that knowing without practicing doesn't change who we are. It will be only a thought, it will be only intellectual. What we really need is to put in practice everything we learn, everything we are studying, why we are studying this, why we are so interested in knowing the origins of life on earth, or where we come from, where are we going, do we survive that? Life continues after that. And why do you want to know all of this? If not to change yourself into a better person, if not to be better to the ones who live by your side, if not to help your brothers and sisters on earth to be better as well, to be happier, to be lighter, to live life in a different way. So all this knowledge can be transformed in self-defense against bad energies, bad spirits, against all the suffering we have to experience when we transform these through the knowledge we have and the practice of prayer and meditation, learning to calm ourselves, to calm our minds, and to be channels of this energy to others, giving passes on the spiritual center, or using the self healing or self pass, like we say, to try to balance ourselves in the moments of desperation or unbalance. This is the subject we discussed today. And now I have a prayer for you. I tried to translate it to Norwegian, so you will uh, beklager meg if I'm not saying very well, but I will try to say this prayer so we can finish our work. Kjære Gud, gjør meg til et redskap for fred og velvære. La hendene mine bringe frem det beste i meg, og la hjertet mitt være i harmoni med kjærligheten og lyset fra velgjørende som omgir meg i dette øyeblikk. Dear God, make me an instrument of peace and well-being. Let my hands bring out the best in me, and my heart be in tune with the love and light of the benefactors who surround me at this moment. We are very grateful for our study today, and I wish you all the light, the peace, and the well-being involving each one of you in this moment, because the passe can also be a donation of energy even from afar. There is no distance when the thoughts work because we can reach each one no matter the distance we have between us. Thank you for everything.